You're listening to the Pigskin Cafe, a podcast covering the wild world of college football. On tap for today are hot takes, controversy, and analysis on your favorite team. Here's your host, Hampton Sipper, in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in to the Pigskin Cafe. My name is Hampton Sipper, and joining me tonight, I've got my usual friend, Chase Haney, but our other friend, Mr. Graham Haney, is not going to be able to join us tonight, and filling in his place, making his debut. He called ahead, he got a reservation, and he was let in to the Pigskin Cafe, Mr. Logan Farabee. Logan, how we doing tonight, man?
First-time caller, long-time listener. Glad to be here.
Hey, glad to have you. We're glad to have you, Logan, and we look forward to breaking down an incredible week of college football. Week 6 delivered from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. actually, because the Arizona USC game, I don't know if you guys got to catch any of that, but it was a wild ending with USC barely escaping. That team has a lot of issues that they're going to have to address going forward if they want to stay unbeaten and make a claim to the college football playoff. Spoiler alert, I don't think they're going to be able to do that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You had Missouri giving LSU all they wanted, but ultimately in the end, LSU eked out a win. You had Notre Dame. Talk about a thumbnail that aged badly. When Graham and I both gave the thumbs up that Notre Dame was going to win and go into Louisville and beat them, did not happen. I said last week and I said before, Sammy has heart. Well, his heart is the size of the Grinch before he believed in Christmas after that one. 5 turnovers, terrible performance on the road. The OC has to go. Run, pass, punt is his favorite option. And now Notre Dame gets to welcome in USC this week to kind of get back on track after a gauntlet past 3 weeks. But the games that we're really going to talk about here and really dive in deep, we're going to talk about Alabama going to College Station and beating Texas A&M. What a huge victory for the Tide. And then we're going to end the show with another classic in the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma edging out Texas. So let's dive into it. Chase, take us where we need to go, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, well, Scooter, more commonly known as Scooter. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, either one works.
These people. That's right. And this group of guys, it's been fun to just kind of see even Graham hop in here. Been friends for a real long time. So, Scooter, glad to have you on. Hey, if you're listening, whether you're in the car or in the shower or whatever you're doing, getting ready to go to work or coming home from work or actually working, I'm grateful that you're listening. So, hey, we've got 2 awesome matchups. So let's dive right in. Let's go to the best first, which for maybe or more of our audience, which is that Bama A&M game. And Hampton, I mean, we've got to own it. Let's maybe start there of what we need to own, and then we'll maybe more digest the game. So me and you both picked A&M to win this. I'll let you go first, and then toss it back to me. But just why did you pick A&M to win, and then how do you feel about me and you being wrong?
Well, like I said at the end of my prediction, I fell on the sword for the Tide, and it worked. And it worked against Ole Miss, and it worked against Texas A&M. I was the flag. Graham was the flagpole. He called it. He called Alabama getting a win. So shout out to him. But the real reason that both you and I picked A&M to win this game was because we simply did not think, and it really kind of played out this way. Texas A&M did everything that they could to stop the Alabama rushing attack. And boy, did they have success with that. But what differed from what we thought and what actually happened was in that second half, Jalen Milroe, that offensive line, Jermaine Burton, Isaiah Bond, and Alabama receivers were able to attack that vulnerability in the A&M defense, that secondary, specifically number 28, DeBerry. And that is what won the game for Alabama. And, I mean, that was why I didn't pick them going in. And they proved me wrong. Jalen Milroe proved me wrong to an extent. Played a great second half of football, especially after the interception. And, hey, I'm happy to own when I'm wrong. I'm happy that he proved me wrong. And I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah, I think that it'd be easy to say this was reverse psychology, and I'm sitting here on Monday recording this saying like I still agree with the train of thought that I had of why I picked
Absolutely.
A&M to win. And like you said, I mean, I don't want to use kind of a Dabo line, but I mean, you take 2 or 3 plays out of this game, make them play differently, and I mean, it just felt like even when we had the win, we still were trying to give it up. Like there was a part of me that felt like I was about to be right, even though that I was wrong for 3 quarters or so. And yeah, man, it was one of those games. I'm grateful that we won. I want to be appreciative of that, happy for that. I think seeing Saban's demeanor after, where you almost the only thing you could really do is just kind of laugh and move on. Of like, that's not how we drew it up. We'll take the win. It's kind of how I feel. But I'll say that Milroe did play better than I think expected, but there was plenty of – I don't think that anybody was projecting that many penalties. I mean, it just
14.
Seems like in big games we seem to really get the laundry thrown at us. So, Scooter, if it's okay, I'm going to actually go to you first. Let you just kind of talk about the game. Take it whichever direction you felt fit. Hampton and I were talking about, this really was a story of 2 halves. Which, if I had to retell the story, that's how I would talk about it. Is in the first half, this is the way it looked, but then there were some adjustments that were made at halftime that really seemed to set Bama up for success. So, how did you watch this game, and how did you feel about the Tide getting the win?
Right. Now, I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm going to start with the offense first, and then I'll go to the defense next. I mean, it was definitely a tale of 2 halves. I think the first half, you have the offense coming out there trying to establish the run game. It was completely non-existent. And then you kind of see our offense have to try to rely on Jalen Milroe to use his arm to pass the ball because the run game just wasn't there. And I think with the first half, you kind of had the same old story with Jalen Milroe in the big game. As soon as he tries to throw the ball, every Alabama fan is just holding their breath, like what could possibly happen with this throw. It was pretty ugly to watch sometimes. When he's good, he's good. And in the first half, it seems that he has more bad times than good. When he's bad, he's really bad. And when he makes mistakes, he makes just head scratching mistakes. It was really frustrating to watch, just as an Alabama fan, watching our offense just stall and just really not get anything going on the ground or even in the air. So it was frustrating to watch. But like you said, tale of 2 halves. They come out the second half. Jalen Milroe, he throws the interception, and you're like, oh no, here we go again. This same ball, just different story.
Mm-hmm.
But after that interception, he really seemed to settle in. He got in the groove, and especially getting involved with Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond too. They both had really big games. That was really, really exciting to see, especially because of the fact that we really haven't seen that passing game be established really all year. I don't think they hadn't seemed to get in a groove all year, and seeing him kind of find his rhythm and find a go-to guy all game. He was able to hit Jermaine Burton. He was just torching the band. Guy, really rough game, really rough go at it. But seeing Jalen kind of grow from that first half to that second half is really, really a positive thing, especially going forward. And then the defense. I mean, I don't have any critiques for the defense. I think they've been excellent all year. The first half to the second half, I mean, they stayed constant. A relentless attack, especially on that defensive front. Max Johnson was uncomfortable the entire game, and it showed. He never could get in a rhythm, and I think that was a large part of why we won the game. I think that the fact that our defense was just able to be so dominant is really telling of the whole season up to this point, and I think it's really exciting going forward. I think that they're going to be a large part of why we are able to have success going forward in any game that we play. And going back to the offense real quick, one more point I want to make is even though we did not establish the run game, I think is kind of a exciting part about Jalen Milroe too. It kind of emphasizes the success he was able to navigate and find because we did have to rely on him, especially in that second half. We had to throw the ball because we had no run game. It was non-existent. And he was still able to really shine given that. And so I think that was a really, really huge part of the game. So, Hampton, what did you see with the Tide this past Saturday?
I saw a lot of what you saw, man. I thought you summed that up really well. And like you, I'm going to start with the offense side of the ball. That first half was like many halves of Alabama football this year. Rough to watch. The run game was non-existent. Like we said going in, it would be. And I actually was really surprised with how well the offensive line was holding up in the first half, especially on first and second down when they weren't getting blitzed. And what kept happening was Milroe would miss an easy throw on second down. I mean, how on earth he can throw a deep ball 50 yards downfield and it'd be perfect, but he can't throw a simple 5-yard drag will never cease to amaze me. But he kept doing it over and over and over again. And then third down, after that touchdown to Isaiah Bond, A&M made an adjustment. He started blitzing, and he was not recognizing the blitz properly, who was coming, who was not, setting protection, and it led to him getting sacked. Oftentimes he held on to the ball too long, didn't hit his hot out of the backfield, and what you have is just a bunch of killed, stalled drives. That is a recipe for disaster. And I think that kind of scores what may be even his biggest issue right now is pre-snap work, whether it be setting the protection, identifying who is coming to pressure him, and where he needs to go with the ball. I think that is what he really, really needs to work on. But credit to Tommy Rees and the staff at halftime. Their counter to that blitz was getting the ball out quick, kind of like you said, Logan. And the more they did that, the better rhythm he got in as the half went along. And you had, after he threw that dreadful pick, which, by the way, love the play design on the pick he threw. If he actually had driven the ball to Amari Black, it would have been a really good 15 to 20 yard gain. Or if he just led Amari downfield and didn't overthrow it. He throws that pick right after getting planted like a tree because he didn't identify the guy coming off the edge. But after that, he really made some incredible throws. That seed he threw to Burton in the corner of the end zone on that flag route, really, really great stuff. Off your back foot, pressure in your face, throw it, touchdown. And, he kind of had a lot of that in the second half. Threw on time, didn't kind of get panicky in the pocket when there was trash around him. And the offensive line held up well. I was really impressed with the progress that they're making. And shout out Jaden Roberts, who didn't know he was going to start probably earlier in the week, but due to an injury to Darian Dalcourt, he gets thrust into action. Played a really good game, I thought. I thought he was gritty and held up well in pass protection for the most part. Now, Chase, like you said, too many pre-snap penalties that have to be cleaned up. But the key is they can be cleaned up. Those are correctable errors that you can not make going forward. It's not a talent thing. It's a focus thing, attention to detail, and they're not going to play in another environment like that all year, other than maybe save the Iron Bowl. But I think we can all agree that Texas A&M is a significantly more talented team than the Auburn team that Alabama is going to play at the end of the year. So what I take from the game on the offensive side of the ball, kind of like you said, Logan, I think it's really encouraging that there was no run game and he threw for 320 yards and showed that level of comfortability. And that's something you can build off of. That gives you confidence. Mm-hmm. And maybe, as Tommy Rees, I think, did a really good job with the adjustments, and he's figuring out how to call plays for Milroe and kind of what suits him best. Just watch out, man. I think this offense can kind of keep building and stacking performances. It started in the second half against Ole Miss, continued this past Saturday. So shout out to the staff, shout out to Milroe for, again, he's not perfect. It's like, you just ate a steak and then you go on a roller coaster and it's up and down, up and down. You just feel nauseous the whole time you're watching. But at the end, you had a pretty good time. That's kind of like watching Jalen Milroe play quarterback at this point in his career. But he is improving. And I think that is something that we can all applaud. Now, I don't have a do-rag. But Shout out to Kevin DeMarcus Steele and that dadgum defense, man. Because like you said, Logan, the constant in the first and second half was that defense. First half, they got put in bad position after bad position after bad position, and they held them to 17 points. But in that second half, they made adjustments. They stopped blitzing as much as they were because they got burned a few times. Because credit to Max Johnson, that dude is a tough son of a gun and stayed in the pocket and delivered some throws under pressure over and over and over again. But they adjusted in the second half, and that Alabama front took over, had 4 sacks, had a safety mixed in there, and Tim Keenan, man-possessed. Justin Aboybe, man-possessed. Turner and Braswell are the best outside linebacker duo in the country. They are an absolute terror off the edge. I thought Deontay Lawson coming back in, he played a great game. Terrion Arnold stepped in at star when Malachi Moore got hurt, made a crucial play in the fourth quarter. But my man, my breakout player of the year, Caleb doggone Downs, the second pick in 2 weeks, probably the play of the game, if we're being quite honest. That changed the momentum right after Milroe had thrown his pick, and just an incredible play, high-level stuff from a freshman, and he continues to get better. This defense is elite. I've said it all year. And to echo you again, Logan, they're going to be the reason that Alabama wins games down the road. They are the identity of this team. And shout out to Judy Arman, Thomas Watts on BAM's radio. They dropped a little nugget today that what Lane Kiffin said and revealed to the public, that Travaris Robinson is calling plays on defense, that is actually true. Which is very surprising, but it's actually true. I don't care if the janitor is calling plays on defense. Whoever it is, keep it going. Fantastic job by that whole unit. And my last note before I kick it back to you, Chase, the blindside block call was an absolute doggone joke by the officials. Dallas Turner, you don't need to do that. But to call that in that big of a moment, when the guy didn't even fall down, it's just outright egregious. There has to be accountability for the officiating. And yes, I can complain about it a little bit more because Alabama won. But great victory for the Tide. Got Arkansas this week. Let's keep stacking. Let's keep improving. And this team's going to be really dangerous heading down the final half of the season.
Yeah.
And I want to take my hat off now.
Yeah, hey, well, we enjoyed the show and tell. Definitely brought the point to life. If you just, maybe would post coming up soon, maybe just you eating a steak, maybe from Waffle House, and then hopping on a roller coaster at the National Peanut Festival, that would just make this illustration come alive.
Who's to say I didn't?
That's right. Let me give just two quick thoughts. Got to give it to Jermaine Burton. I mean, we've been kind of waiting for him to finally break out. And truly, I think last year, at least some of us were asking the question, where's the stud receiver? And I think that, as you think about this offense this year, they are trying to run the ball more. The quarterback we have is not going to throw the ball as much or as well. And so it's just going to limit just how often these guys are going to be able to even get receptions or even targets. So that's not really a knock. It's just different offensive philosophy. But, man, way to show up in a big game. Like, that's, I think, what we've been missing is in these big games, what's been there that has not been in other games are penalties. And that was still true, but it really did feel like Burton showed up, and, man, did we need him. So, the only thing I want to kind of maybe just not I don't want to bring this up in a negative way, but it really feels like Tommy Rees did not have an off season with Milroe, because it feels like each game we say stuff that feels like no duh, like getting the ball out early, and I'm like, who was suggesting doing the other way? And then just like some of the stuff that we've been doing offensively, I feel like we're getting there, we're understanding it. But there's a little bit of me thinking, why was our starting point where it was? It might be they were splitting reps, But I think there's a lot to build on. But I hope that we're we're taking notes on what Milroe does well, what he feels comfortable doing. But I would just wish we would have had some of those answers earlier in the season. I think you mentioned Caleb Downs. That was the turning point in the game. Nobody denies it. Man, way to step up. But yeah, man, I nothing was just funnier, and I think encapsulates this season like, all you got to do is kneel it 4 times down in a row. We're out of here. And Jimmy Stein talked about this well, of that there was this, you can tell that Milroe's coachable almost in that moment of he's probably coached to, if there's a receiver who is uncovered, then you always get him the ball. And it was like right in the moment of him about to release the football, he's like, oh my gosh, I should be kneeling this. He did the only thing that you can't do in that moment, which was to throw an incomplete pass. So
to the open guy.
It is the old adage: your high school coach, your rec coach, your peewee coach. If you make a mistake, make it 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And he made it like 15 miles an hour on that one.
Hey, like they said, if you don't know what to do, go blow somebody up. Just go hit somebody.
That's dang true.
I mean, hey, you'll get somebody will get on to you if you block the wrong person. But if you're gonna block the wrong person, you might as well blow that sucker up. So
Exactly.
that's how we coach football. So there's a reason that we're here doing this podcast and not doing X and O's on Saturday. But man, just a really good game. I think that this was a litmus test. It'll be interesting to see. Last note, it'll be really interesting to see what A&M does the rest of the season. This is my observation, is that A&M, when they lose a football game or it's close, they have the Alabama mentality of somebody needs to be fired. And it was that they needed a new offense coordinator, brought in Petrino. No matter how you think about that, he's there, he's your guy. And then offense gets a little better, but then everybody was screaming that the defense stunk against Miami. And then, then they played really well against Arkansas. Now they've lost to Alabama. Is Jimbo in the hot seat? Well, it's kind of a respectable loss. Just what do they do now, and how do they not go 8-4? Because that's their mantra. That's what everyone knows them as, is the 8-4. They have the Super Bowl in the middle of their season and then don't play after that. So I'm going to be interested to see. I'll give you guys a stats report, living out here in Aggie land, since that's become just the thing that you say in every other sentence when you're broadcasting that game. But let's move on to another game that happened here in Dallas, Texas.
Come on.
So I got to apologize. I can't remember how I introduced this game. I think I said Red River Shootout. All right. It's Red River Showdown, but it was like on CBS.
Shootout so much better.
It sounds so much cleaner. Why would it not be?
So much cleaner.
So much cooler. But it was like Red River Rivalry Showdown, and I'm like, guys, we're about to get to the point where we've got to abbreviate what this game's going to be called because it's just too many words. But all that to say, man, what a phenomenal football game. And if anything, just encapsulating the awesomeness of the Big 12 as it is, where it's hard to put out a national championship or a playoff contender because they beat up on each other. And Saturday was the perfect example of what the Big 12 is all about, which is beating up on the team that should be the one that makes the playoffs. So, Logan, I'll start with you. Texas versus OU, and I know this was the game that started at 11 o'clock. How did you just kind of see the game, the part of the game that you saw? How did you feel about the ending? Did the right team win?
Yeah, so Chase, I know we were talking about this beforehand. I didn't actually get to see the first half of this game, and I think I picked up at halftime, and from then on, I think you missed the second half. So maybe we can fill in, swap those two halves out together. But obviously, Texas did not have the start that they wanted to have. Quinn Ewers came out there and kind of just laid an egg. His first, especially, it looked really bad. His first 2 throws, interceptions. Obviously, in that scenario, in that rivalry game, that is not how you want to start off on the wrong foot. Looked really bad, to start off with, and they had 2 interceptions. They had a fumble to go on top of that. They had a 4th down stop in the game on the goal line, and to top that off, they also had 9 penalties for 70 yards. So, all in all, it was a very sloppy game for Texas. With that being said, they have a chance to win the game in the end. With a minute and some change left, they take the lead at the end of the game. So with as sloppy as the game they played, I think the talent that Texas has as a team was able to kind of just push through it. Now, Oklahoma has a talented team, but I thought going into the game that Texas was the better team, and I had picked Texas to win the game because of that. But, you said, Chase, the Red River Shootout, that's exactly what it was. There was 1,000 yards combined between the two teams, total offense. I mean, that's a shootout if there ever was one. So, with Texas taking the lead, minute some change left to go, you kind of felt like it still was just way too much time. Oklahoma didn't have any timeouts left, but with as high octane as both offenses were, you just kind of felt like that it was just too much time left on the board for Texas to be able to stop them, which it was. Oklahoma drove down the field, mounted a really good, game-winning drive, and took the lead. Interesting thing about this game, though, to me, is actually going forward. I think that, Texas looking forward on their schedule as well as Oklahoma, they're both in the driver's seat as far as their conference is concerned and a road to the playoffs. Bad loss for Texas as far as, their playoff hopes, I guess, early on in the season. But again, they're kind of control their own destiny, because if you look ahead at the rest of their schedule, they shouldn't lose another game. They should win every game they play, as well as Oklahoma. Oklahoma should win out too. And if that happens, that means with the way the Big 12 is organized, we will have a Red River rematch in the Big 12 championship, which I think will be super exciting. This was a super exciting football game to watch. But I think going forward, if just kind of speculating, I guess, if they both do win out like they should, I think in a rematch of this game, I'm still going to pick Texas. I know Oklahoma won the head-to-head matchup and the rivalry game. I think with the film that Texas will have on Oklahoma, especially with their play style, I think once you kind of get in the game with Oklahoma's play style, you can practice all you want for that, but in the game time situation, as fast as they play, it's really hard to prepare for that. I think going forward, if they do win their schedule out the rest of the season, I think if they play Texas plays Oklahoma again, I'm picking Texas again. Super fun game, though. I think it'll be another fun matchup if they play again.
Hampton, we'll throw it to you.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent breakdown, Mr. Farabee. I mean, spot on. Loved it. This game encapsulated the beauty of college football. I mean, the whole day did, because I love the NFL. We all love the NFL. But from 11 to 1 a.m., like I said, it was good game after good game after good game. I mean, the 11 a.m. slot with this game, you had Maryland, Ohio State. That was close for a while. Then you had Missouri, LSU. That was a shootout. I mean, my thumb got pure wore out going back and forth between the channels. It's absolutely incredible. And what a win from Oklahoma. What a win for Oklahoma and Brent Venables. I mean, this is kind of like that program elevating win that you need in your second year as a head coach. Last year, they got blown out. They got embarrassed. I believe it was 48-0, and Dylan Gabriel did not play in that game. Well, boy, oh boy, did he play on Saturday. He had 285 yards and a touchdown through the air. But even more importantly, he had 14 carries for 113 on the ground and a touchdown. He had the game-winning game-winning passing touchdown with I think 8 to 10 seconds left in the corner of the end zone. Just big-time stuff for him. And this game really showed me the difference between, and kind of really, I mentioned this last year, how bad of a state from a physicality perspective Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma. I mean, Venables doesn't even have all his guys in there yet, but there was a change in mindset. From the jump, they established the tone that we are not going to back down. We are not afraid. And they were dadgum physical with Texas. I mean, pads were popping. I mean, the game was a little drunk early. I don't know if they got up for some day drinking or what, but my goodness, there were crazy things happening early. But they took the fight to Texas. They were not intimidated, and it caused Texas to make mistakes, like you said, Logan. And, of course, Texas is more talented. So in a game like that, to kind of pull an upset, you need those 3 turnovers that they gave them. You need those penalty yards that Texas committed. And now going forward, I'm with you. I think they'll meet in the Big 12 championship. And I probably, like you, I mean, obviously we played the games for a reason, and we kind of have to see how it unfolds. But right now, I would still pick Texas to win a rematch because of the talent they have. But what a win by Oklahoma, kind of showing a different side of what this rivalry has been. Because even Oklahoma, I believe they're 11-4 in the past 15 of the Red River Shootout, but they've always won under Lincoln Riley by basically outscoring Texas like 45-41 or something like that. This game had a different tenor to it, and I think a lot of that has to go with how Brent Venables coaches his football team and coaches that attacking defense. So great game, big win. Dylan Gabriel has inserted himself into the Heisman conversation. Texas will be fine. The sky's not falling. Let's see how both teams respond going forward. That's going to be a key as well as we kind of move on throughout the year.
Yeah. And I think that you ended that well of that, the sky's not falling. And the only point that I want to make is like, can Sarkisian convince his players that that's true?
That's the case, yeah.
I mean, like you said, though, I mean, it's just, I think when I was watching that game, I was thinking, I still want Sarkisian to come to Alabama once Saban retires. Because, I mean, dude, just watching him call offense that first half, I know Ewers was messed up, but just some of the plays he was drawing up to get guys open,
he's the best, man.
Man, he's just the best. He is just the best. And, it's fun to watch. So, well, hey, fellas, that's all we got for this episode. Hey, Scooter, thank you for hopping on. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, which I'm sure is a decent number of you, think about clicking the button, click the notification button so you can stay up to date with us.
Don't think about it. Do it.
There we go. Hey, that's what he's running on this year, his campaign. But hey, we'll come up with another episode you can watch on Thursday. So the Pigskin Cafe is going to be closed for now, but until Thursday, chew on that. We'll see y'all soon.